Hey everybody, it's Jeremy. Welcome back to Pathfinder Wrath of the Righteous. This is our Beast Tamer Bard run, episode 38. And we're in chapter 2. Much excite. So we just talked to a bunch of kind of our new, not characters necessarily, one of them is a character, new character, but new actors. We've had a bunch of conversations with Queen Galfrey, some with Sociel. I did not remember the gnome's name, and then Leotir, I think, is the other one. So we are all ready to head into the encampment again. Before we head out, though, I think we get to do like another round of talking to people. Yeah. We have Irabeth. Oh, right, Irabeth. So I took a little look at our quests. We've got a thing to talk to Irabeth about her family's scabbard. Commander, allow me to say something. Irabeth looks even more serious than usual. Before you, this wasn't a war. Agony, drawn out over decades. Give me a quest. So many quests. No one believed in victory anymore. When the demons attacked the city, for some, it was a relief. It's the end had come. They laid down their weapons and surrendered without a fight. I felt the same thing, but I somehow got through on stubbornness and the vague hope that if nobody found Nevia's body, she might by some miracle have survived. That miracle was you. You returned my beloved to me, when I had nearly lost all hope of seeing her alive again. Then you went on a suicide mission to the Grey Garrison and won the city back for us. Turned a defeat into a victory. I know this isn't easy. You make everything seem so effortless. You do everything just like that, says with a snap of her finger. The Queen believes in your powers too, but for me, they're just more proof of what I felt that day when I saw Nevia alive, standing next to you. You're the miracle we've been waiting for. You're the one who will finally put an end to this terrible war, and in spite of everything, deliver us the victory we so desperately need. With you, I'm sure this crusade will achieve what the others could not. That's so feelsy. Like, goddamn. This game is... It's hitting on all the right notes for me. I found a scabbard with your family name on it in the Grey Garrison. Irabeth looks down. The scabbard held the solemn hour, my family's sword. My father once fought with it. I took it when I left home to become a paladin. Alas, it was not stolen. I parted with my heirloom willingly to help someone dear to me. Nevia needed expensive healing, and having no other way to procure the money, I pawned my father's sword. I think he would have understood. Sure, he would have given up everything to help the family. Interesting. I hoped to redeem the solemn hour eventually, but there was never enough money. Soon the sword disappeared from the pawn shop altogether. I have no idea who took it. Seems like I'll have to part with my father's sword forever. Interesting. Is Nevia sick? But forgive me if I don't go into detail, it's a private matter. Suffice to say, everything is fine now. The treatment was costly, but it was worth it. You had the orders coffers? No. Hell no. I can see that you truly love her. A delicate blush appears on Irabeth's cheeks. Silently. Hell yeah. Irabeth lovingly traces the name imprinted in silver on the scabbard's leather. My parents were loyal servants, yet it wasn't enough to earn them a title or a coat of arms. Still, however humble our name might be, it was worth something. I don't know if I'll ever see the solemn hour again. At least I have its scabbard back. Thank you. So it turns out that the Queen has her head of counterintelligence watching me. I wonder why. You think the Queen doesn't trust you? If that were true, she wouldn't have put you in charge of this army. My main task is to be your advisor until you've gained enough experience as a commander. As for counterintelligence, Nevia and I were tasked with keeping an eye on your inner circle. But you're not under suspicion, Commander. You're under our protection. Oh, uh-oh. It's hard to believe your origin is so humble. You deserve a noble title more than many who inherit them. Irabeth's cheeks blush a little. Thank you, Commander. It is an honor to hear that, especially from you. Every noble family begins somewhere. Must have heard the recent story from the Stolen Lands and the River Kingdoms. I have! That's a reference for people who don't know. That's a reference to the Kingmaker game. Just imagine coming from nowhere and making it all the way to a royal crown in just a few years. Sometimes I wonder what would happen if I managed to distinguish myself somehow. But then I push away such unworthy, selfish thoughts, of course. We don't fight for rewards. The fate of the world is at stake. And yet, Irabeth's blush deepens and she falls silent. Love it. Absolutely love it. We need reinforcements. Can you get us more soldiers? Irabeth frowns. When we begin the march on Dresden, we chose speed over numbers. If I order more volunteers to be recruited, they simply won't arrive in time. We could pay mages to deliver the troops to the camp, except I doubt that our army's coffers could afford it. You can spare 7,500 gold coins. I will see to our reinforcements. Perhaps later. I'm pretty sure we had that in... No, we do not have that in spades. I thought we were sitting on like... Oh, I think we were sitting on like 20k, but then we bought some stuff for people. Sheesh. I still think we'll probably end up doing that, but we'll check around before we commit to that. Let's talk to her again real quick and make sure that, yeah. It's still an option, so.
Let's see what we can do.
New round of loot? Or did I just miss that originally? Oh, it looks like a new round of loot. Maybe?
Here we go.
Yeah, how strange. Definitely new round of loot. Okay, so Ember's over here now. Ah, okay, so the prior exploration did not allow us to really converse with the characters. This one is now. So now we're going to get a bunch of character backstory. That's cool. Ember is bobbing her head and humming a tune. She greets you with a carefree, cheerful smile. Her wondering eyes linger on you for just a moment before darting off again into the distance. How are you handling your new abilities? Abilities? The girl tilts her head to one shoulder. Talking about? Oh, the tricks you learned when the big gray house blew up. They're funny. Thanks for teaching them to me. Interesting. The queen gave me the title of Knight Commander and put me in charge of an army. What do you think about that? The elf focuses her wondering gaze on your eyes, smiles, and shakes her head. Don't believe titles. All of us in the world are children of the street, barefoot, hungry, scared, a step away from death. Some imagine they're strong and rich, like gods. But don't forget who you really are, behind the title. Oh, Ember.
I can handle it.
Can you? Alright, we talked to Ninio. Ah, boy, there you are. Very good, just in time. You'll be delighted to know I need you for an experiment. So, the Grey Garrison stands roofless. Demons are running for the hills with their tails between their legs. Mendev's queen, what's her name? It's on the tip of my... yes, Galfrey, is scurrying to and fro. And all this is somehow connected to you, my loyal follower. Thus far, there is no scientific evidence of your exceptionality, if one discounts blind faith in divine intervention, which I do. Of course you do. We people of science refuse to believe in the inexplicable without any proof. We are the ones who explain the inexplicable. Ninio punctuates her statement with an energetic sweep of her arm, and therefore, open your mouth and say, ah, for me. Yep, open my mouth, ah. Ninio peers into your mouth with a practiced eye. All right, your throat's fine. Tongue looks perfectly normal. Your breath, she sniffs. The smell is in line with the regular functioning of the digestive system. Now for your teeth. She sticks one hand in your mouth and probes each of your teeth in turn with the skill of a seasoned dentist. No detectable alterations. By the way, did you know that many individuals, while being wholly civilized representatives of their races, still have an amazingly powerful bite? As if suddenly recalling something, Ninio promptly pulls her hand out of your mouth. Are you really trying to find a correlation between fang length and civility? Ninio seems slightly embarrassed. For the good of science, I look for correlations everywhere and in everything. How can you prove there's no correlation if you don't bother to look for one? Say nothing. Moving on. Alright, what do we have next? Ears. Let's check your hearing. Test. Ninio yells right in your ear and nods in satisfaction as she observes your reaction. Your hearing is fine. Was fine. But don't worry, it's scientifically proven that it should return to normal soon. Next, Ninio circles you. Eyes are clear. Posture is satisfactory. Limb length is standard. No lice. She stops, rubs her chin in contemplation, and in a slightly dejected tone says, Boy, you are the picture of health. It's a pity, I was expecting to find some anomaly. Well, now let's assess your mental state. Imagine a hypothetical situation. You are a tree, 2 squirrels have found their way into your hollow and are now copulating there. What do? I'm a tree. Yeah, I do precisely nothing because I'm a tree. Just an unconscious act of withdrawal, along with a lack of trust in your own abilities. Or perhaps just a healthy dose of pragmatism. Yeah, I'm a tree. On to the next question. Another hypothetical situation. You are a tomato. You have just been picked from the vegetable patch and put into a crate. You know that today the cook will use half of the tomatoes from your crate to make soup. What do? I'm a tomato. An unconscious act of withdrawal, inability or unwillingness to see something bigger behind something small. All right, I understand. On the surface, it appears you don't really believe in your ability to change things. But in fact, you are a strong pragmatist who knows perfectly well what you can and can't do. Your reasoning is that of a mortal, one who's capable of achieving a great deal, though he would deny even that. Or I'm a tomato! On that note, I deem this experiment complete. Thank you for your participation. Ineo looks at you pensively and then gestures at you with a wide sweep of her arm. And yet you remain a puzzle to me. I love puzzles. One of these days I will solve you completely. Unless I forget. Now I have time to answer your questions. Come on, ask away. No new questions. She is interesting. She's a character. Hello, horse. Get on in here to Nura Dindawar. That's who it was. That's who the gnome is. And there she is. Is there loot in here that we... New loot, who dis? It's so strange. Knight Commander, how can I help? There is much I can do. Just ask. Nura looks at you with eyes filled with enthusiasm. She's holding a notebook and a traveler's inkwell. You've probably heard about the wound I have, the one that sometimes opens in my chest. Can you perhaps tell me if it is some kind of demonic curse? Yes, indeed, I've been told of your affliction. Nura appears at the center of your chest. Can you will the wound to open? No? That's a shame. What can you tell me about this wound? Well, it's difficult to say. I know of blades that leave never-healing wounds, of poisons that stop wounds from healing. I've heard of witches' curses that are rewarded with eternal wounds, but wounds that seem to reopen and heal over and over. Perhaps you know of other cases like this? Let's think. In 4671, a Mendevian army corporal had all his bones and cartilage turned to glass. In 47, a scribe in Canabras had all her skin simply come away like she had been boiled. And in 4638... Oh, you don't happen to have insects crawling over you. Locusts? No? Rats, perhaps? Too bad. She looks at you with genuine regret. You think it's dangerous? It's most likely dangerous, but you are under the protection of Iomedae, Commander. She granted you mythic power, as they say. Surely the inheritor would not leave you to face this alone. Had you perhaps noticed that the wound opens at moments when you waver in your faith? Perhaps it is triggered by doubt. Frowning, Nura looks at you with sincere concern. Thank you for your answers. I'm sorry I couldn't tell you anything useful. I will be sure to study this matter and consult a few of my encyclopedias. About yourself. Oh my, I could tell you so many amazing things, and you choose the most boring one of all. But alright, about myself then. Where are you from? Isgare. Isgare? Isgare? I don't know. A small piece of land that proudly calls itself a country, though it hasn't been independent for a single day in all the centuries it's existed. They have a lot of national pride, but all of it's borrowed. Always looking to the great day when they can at last be free from the rule of Cheliax. The Isgari love talking politics. If two of them start bargaining over beats on the market, you can be sure that they'll end up arguing about whether an independent Isgare will be a monarchy or a republic. I've always found it funny to listen to, and a little disgusting. You see, there are a lot of us halflings in the country, but very few are citizens. Most are slaves. Oof. I was lucky. I've always been clever ever since I was little, so they sent me to school instead of making me do the grunt work. They taught me to count and write, and I was sold as a secretary to Lord Axelar Tresbot. He's the one I left Isgare with. Never to return, I hope. How did you come to serve Queen Galfrey? I was a slave of Lord Axelar Tresbot in Isgare, my homeland. What a man he was. He towered over his fellows like a rock over a garbage heap. A true hero. He bought me as a simple secretary, but he made me learn the history of the world wound. All of it. One volume after another. He hired tutors for me, and sent me to meet prominent historians. He didn't want a simple slave, but a slave with an impeccable education. Lord Tresbot was going on a crusade. He firmly believed that the servants of the good gods were weak, and only a follower of Asmodeus could stand against the demon invasion. He took me along as a secretary, a historian, and most importantly, he entrusted me with recording his glorious story for future generations. In his crusade, Lord Tresbot performed many brave feats, but even he could not stand against the whirlwind alone. In his final battle with the demons, when my lord realized he was doomed, his final act was to cover my retreat, so I could tell the world of his great deeds. Some people have said what he did was not heroic, just an arrogant moron puffing himself up one last time. But I say curse their tongues. My difficult journey ended in Mindev, where I found my freedom. There I published Lord Tresbot's biography, and I don't want to boast, but who am I kidding? Of course I do. The book sold in great numbers and made me rather famous for a time. That's what brought me to the Queen's attention. She invited me to her court. After all, she was curious about my deceased lord, and she was in great need of an expert on the history of the world wound. I hope you'll find me useful as well. So you're not just a historian, but a writer too. Will you write a book about my crusade? Why not? As soon as we finish off the demons, I'll get right to it. Just take care that you don't end up like Lord Tresbot. You worship any deity? He makes a wry face. When I was a slave in Isgare, they would beat me with a stick to force me into believing in Asmodeus. They hit me and said it was for my own good. Ever since then, I don't like temples. I realize there are different gods, like Desno or Caden. Who's Caden? I haven't heard that name before. Caden Kalian. God of alcohol, bravery, and freedom, is one of the ascended, those mortals who achieved godhood by passing the test of the Starstone. Because legend tells that he passed the test while intoxicated, he is also known as the Lucky Drunk, the Drunken Hero, or the Accidental God. That's pretty dope. Who teaches goodness and freedom. But it's just... as soon as I smell frankincense, I see the slave driver stick. Maybe one day I'll be able to turn to a deity without cringing from a blow for not being reverent enough. But for now I let others pray for me. Nura's smile trembles and collapses. That's fun. Nura sounds sincere, but you feel like she's holding something back. Interesting. Very interesting. Huh. Thank you for your answers. Tell me the history of the world wound. Oh, this is going to be a big one. All right. Oh, I could talk about that for hours. What exactly do you want to know? Tell me about Old Sarkoris. It was an unforgiving country, inhabited by numerous tribes of Kelid barbarians. Imagine Numeria, but without the metal mountains, or the realm of the Mammoth Lords, but with a milder climate. That's Sarkoris. The country was ruled by priests of forgotten deities and shamans. Alright, I know about Numeria. Numeria is where can't remember his name. Ragor, the two of the characters from Kingmaker, right? And it's got a whole bunch of tribes of barbarians, but it's also got these metal mountains and technological advancement. It's weird. Very strange. Realm of the Mammoth Lords, I don't think I've ever heard of, though. Realm of megafauna inhabited by humans almost as savage as the prehistoric beasts surrounding them. The Realm of the Mammoth Lords is a land in Avistan's far north that is home to myriad nomadic tribes of Kelid barbarians. Interesting. It's said that even back then, before the World Wound, the boundary between worlds was especially thin in this region. Since ancient times, Discari has had his claws sunk deep in the minds of the locals. His cults thrived here for centuries. Eredin tried to stamp them out, but in the end, of course, he passed away. How did the World Wound come to be? It happened the year Eredin died, 4606, a little over a century ago. No one knows if the timing was coincidental or if there's some connection with Eredin's death, but I'll tell you what we do know. The priests and shamans who ruled Sarkoris hated arcane magic and all who practiced it. Wizards and sorcerers were driven from the land, or worse. One of their prisoners held a witch named Arilu Vorlesh. We know nothing about her besides her name, and of course the atrocity she committed. By some unknown method, she managed to harness the terrible power of the demon lord Discari. Together, they tore open the barrier between worlds, opening a rift to the abyss in the very middle of Sarkoris. The World Wound slowly but mercilessly expanded, devouring more and more land. In a matter of years, Sarkoris was a memory. After a moment of silence, Nura adds softly, "Sometimes I think, what did they do to Arilu in that prison? Just imagine. She was ready to give herself to the abyss, if only the demons might devour her torturers along with her. To imagine such hatred terrifies me." And I fucking feel, like, holy shit. It's hard to not be like, yep, I'd do it if I was in her shoes. Tell me about the First Crusade. It began in 4622. Yes, it took the church and the secular authorities nearly 2 decades and hundreds of thousands of lives before they decided to take action. In the meantime, Sarkoris was only supported by handfuls of volunteers. By the time the crusade began, the demons had already invaded Minded. The Crusaders pushed them back, in what must have seemed like total triumph at the time, the forces of good easily crushing the demons on all fronts. They erected Dresden on the lands they conquered, an indestructible fortress and the capital of the Crusader movement. In 4630, 8 years after it began, the First Crusade was declared victorious. It was the first triumph of the Crusaders, and unfortunately, the last. Oof. In 4638, the World Wound suddenly started expanding, and a new wave of demons appeared. The Crusaders were all but delighted. Last time they routed the forces of the Abyss, and they welcomed another chance to prove themselves. But this time, everything was different. Instead of scattered gangs, they faced a large and organized army. Dresden was besieged, and the Crusaders lost all the lands they'd won back before. They had to retreat, and all that remained of Sarkoris was left to the demons. But while the monsters were devouring the unprotected lands, the Crusaders erected a chain of warnstones along the border with the World Wound. We have Iomedae and her herald to thank for their help. It was the Second Crusade's only victory, but it halted the wound's growth. The catastrophe had become a stalemate, at the cost of tremendous sacrifice. About the Third Crusade. About 50 years after the opening of the World Wound, Discari found an ally. Baphomet entered the war, a cunning, insidious demon lord who prefers deception to open conquest. He sets his enemies against each other and lures the virtuous onto the path of wickedness. Traitors appeared among the Crusaders, secret agents of his cult. For a time, no one suspected a thing, even as they watched helplessly as the Crusader movement fell to ruin. Where once valor proudly stood, now greed and dumb cruelty reigned. Outrage was drowned in apathy. In 4665, the church announced a new crusade, hoping to boost morale. They didn't succeed, to put it mildly. Some fought the demons in earnest, and for a time they even dared hope to retake Dresden. But the Third Crusade would be remembered as a witch hunt in every sense. Inquisitors hoped to purge any cultists from the ranks of fighters, but instead they got a barrage of denunciations. widespread suspicion, and innocent victims. It sometimes happened that two orders would denounce each other as traitors and wipe each other out, much to the demon's delight. Just 3 years later, in 4668, the church put the disgrace to an end. Of all the crusades, that one was the least glorious. Tell me about the Fourth Crusade. Of course, the demons had no intention of sitting quietly caged behind the wardstones. They kept attacking Canabras, trying to reach the stone and destroy it, or just scratch its surface, and if even that wasn't possible, befoul it. The Crusaders drove the demons away from the city again and again. The Fourth Crusade would last for 15 years, an exhausting study in positional warfare. The demons attacked, and they were pushed back. The Crusaders went on the offensive, but were forced to retreat. And all the while, the losses were tremendous. The Fourth Crusade's only achievement was that they didn't let a single wardstone fall. They didn't retake a sliver of land, to say nothing of Dresden. So many lives, just to maintain the stalemate. You can imagine how that affected morale. Thank you for your answers. That's a lot of really good, really interesting information. Holy shit. Alright, very cool. Very cool. And we are going to lead the Fifth Crusade. Okay. Cool.
Can't make the demons wait.
Alright, we've got Hylor. Hylor nods approvingly. You've earned the title of commander. Canabras still stands thanks to you. But you'll have to be doubly on your guard. Your eminence places a target on your back, and there are assassins about. Killing a high-ranking crusader would bring a demon far more prestige than killing a common soldier. Not long ago, I stymied a few of the Spinner of Nightmares' attempts on the lives of influential crusaders, so I know what I'm talking about. Aha! Do you know anything about a Pathfinder named Finian Dismar? Hylor rubs his chin. Let me think. Dismar. I've definitely heard the name before. Finian the talking weapon. Of course you have. I'm a Pathfinder too. So you're the chief in these lands now. What about Lady Auri? When I left for the wound, she had just taken up the position. Hylor examines the talking weapon and chuckles sadly. I'm afraid Auri perished during the Third Crusade. Yes, now I remember. Finian Dismar went missing in the wound at the end of the Second Crusade. His name has been on the list of fallen for a while. Here I am, alive and well. Write in your list that I am back, and soon I'll file a detailed report about everything that happened to me. Finian's voice is full of joy. I knew it was a misunderstanding, but now everything will return to normal. I need to write to my folks. They probably think I'm dead too. They're probably dead. Hylor shakes his head sadly. Poor lad. Such is the fate of a Pathfinder. We face the unknown, but sometimes the unknown wins, and our mind cannot take it. Which influential crusaders did you say from the Spinner of Nightmares? I'd been hunting the Spinner of Nightmares for over a year. My agents, by that time I'd created a proper network, reported to me that she returned to Nerosian. I immediately suspected that she was planning a great atrocity. By that time, I'd learned all too well that the Spinner was a master of illusions and charms. That's why I never left the house without this. Hylor takes a monocle from his pocket and puts it on carefully. This is the Eye of Truth. It allows me to see through illusions. My friend got it from the priests of Nethys. However, neither this monocle nor my network of agents were adequate to prevent the attacks. We were nearly too late. The Spinner of Nightmares decided to strike at the Cruciform Cathedral. They had gathered to celebrate the victory of the First Crusade. It was a great holiday, and there was a lavish ceremony at the cathedral. An influential priest, Anthoclitus, was in charge of the festivities. They were intending to crown him with the tiara, a symbol of his high status, but the sacred tiara had been replaced. The Spinner had obtained an incutilus. Bunch of strange words, y'all. Incutilus. A sentient and rather ominous cephalopod from the other end of the world. She raised it from an elver and trained it carefully, and she cast an illusion on it so that everyone would see it as a tiara. The moment its shell was placed on Anthoclitus's head, the cephalopod would release its tentacles and penetrate the priest's skull. Its poison would seep into his brain, and it would seize control over Anthoclitus's dead body. Fortunately, we were able to stop this madness in time. I spotted the Spinner of Nightmares in the crowd, chased her down, and we ended up crossing swords on the rooftop of the cathedral. Nearly defeated her, but she fled upon a giant stallion, which was able to run across the air as if it were the ground. But, so close to catching her. Suffered a setback, but I let her escape. Hylor's bitter and angry smile shows he hasn't made peace with his failure. Are we gonna get to take down the Spinner of Nightmares? Because I keep getting these big-ass stories from him. Never like a completion. Tell me more about your confrontation with the Spinner of Nightmares. Long story. Telling you everything would take 2 days. Which part would you want to know? How did it begin? I think we already listened to all of this. Yep. Already went through that. Alright, let's talk to Lan. What do you think of what happened in the Grey Garrison? Do you feel a change in yourself? It's hard not to notice when the demons start running away from you like a flock of frightened bats. Powers granted by Iomedae to defeat demons. Lan raises his hand above his head and pensively scratches behind a single horn. Since I was a kid, I've taken whatever I've been given and used it as best I can. Anything goes when you're trying to survive. It doesn't matter where your blessings come from. We can think about that when we're old, if we live that long. But you know, this time even I'm not so sure. A divine power that just appears out of nowhere? Sooner or later, we'll have to pay for it. I'd like to know what the price will be. Fair enough.
Beautiful.
Alright, we already talked to them, but maybe they have something new? Looks like that's a no. Jenna and Elon and Curl. Hell yeah. The League of the Inspiring Cart. I love it. It's super, super good. Calypso! He's got some fucking arms. Holy shit. Alright, Sela, what's up?
Hello. So, what do you reckon about everything that's come crashing down on us? All the responsibility, command, this new power?
I haven't figured it out yet. We'll see what happens next.
Watching and waiting is a good strategy. Probably.
Yeah, potentially.
I'm still frightened by what happened in the Grey Garrison. Were we really chosen? By Iomedae herself? You know, back when I was a snot-nosed kid who just started down the path to becoming a paladin, I imagined once or twice that I was going to do something heroic. The lights would shine down on me, the trumpets would sing, I'd hear the voice of the goddess, or at least her herald, you know? Yeah. I'd be informed that I had been chosen for a great cause. But that's the point where my imagination always failed me.
I feel like so many kids, especially, you know, from like my era onwards, right, had maybe not kids these days. Maybe this was definitely like a 90s thing or around that time period, right? But you have that kind of growing up to think you see so many fairy tales and there's so much in the media and the presentation that gets pushed to you that most kids at that time period had this idea of like, I'm gonna be something, right? And that's not to say that honestly everyone is something, but it's not the way that it was conveyed to us, you know?
Somehow, it really happened.
Yeah.
Without all the trumpets or the herald or even anyone explaining what I had to do. Though it's clear as day, my place is here, in this demon-ridden wound. Quite a lovely war going on, in fact. Endless, I hear. I'm gonna need some time to wrap my head around this. Spare me an hour and I'll crawl into some dark corner and whine about my hard lot. What can I tell you? I cry easily.
I don't want to, like, boil it down to just, like, life sucks and then you die. That's not the insinuation that I'm trying to make, but it's definitely this concept of, like, life is not what I feel like kids of my generation were taught. And probably that's true of most generations, right? Like, it seems natural to not... It seems natural to not... or to have this situation where, like, you know, I have a daughter, and I want my daughter to have a good life and have a happy life. So, like, I will teach her things or try to impress things upon her, but I think I kind of, like, pull back from the fairy tale side, the aspect that kind of, like, I kind of experienced, right? Like, because it's just not, that's not real life, right? That fairy tale aspect is not real life. Anyways. Okay, so that's pretty interesting. It's nice. I actually really like the voice acting in this game. I wish there was more of it. Right? Like, I understand, you know, there's so much dialogue in this game. It'd be incredibly difficult to do something like that. But... like, coming from a game like Pillars of Eternity 2 or something like that, where there's a lot of dialogue there, you know, or I don't know. It's just, for me, the ultimate, like, as much as I'm enjoying Pathfinder Wrath of the Righteous, it would be that scenario of, like, how much more would I enjoy Pathfinder Wrath of the Righteous if I just, all these conversations were just Sela's voice, or Camelia's voice, or, you know, that when you get to the point to where the voice acting is actually really good, it makes me sad to not have more of it, you know? Darren. People say that you are deliberately trying Queen Galfrey's patience. Is that true? Does it even matter? All of Mendevian high society has declared war on me. They either despise me or they're trying to steer me back into the right path, and I'm doing everything in my power to keep them on their toes. I relish the prospect of all the fun this mess in Canabras will bring. Garen grins from ear to ear. I shall either commission a song about the great Canabras fiasco from a certain talented bard, or confuse the jewelers with a rather tall order, a batch of silver dragon toys with detachable heads. Give me a week, and they will be in every shop in the capital. Sure, I'm going chaotic good. I'll hit him with that chaos. You should make sure it's really easy to rip the wings off your dragon trinket as well. Kids are going to love it. Darren laughs. So be it. From now on, you are my muse. Fucking, why not, man? Why the fuck not? So how do you like your new role, advisor? Darren winces. You also enjoy poking me with that stick, don't you? Imagine it, me, a crusader. If my dearest cousin hoped to teach me a lesson, she managed it perfectly. An assignment I couldn't avoid without losing face. This idiotic journey leading straight into the demon's maws. I could have been on a pleasure boat right now, with the loveliest songstress in Pitax on my arm, and a bottle of the finest Keonan wine to keep us company. You could have. Incidentally, I blame you for all of this. Darren lets out a sigh. Well, actually, I think Cousin Galfrey is to blame for everything that's happened to me. And I suppose some of my misdeeds could be considered my own fault. But I can hardly be expected to take responsibility, can I? Certainly not. Therefore, I shall lay all the blame at your door, and plot my revenge. He gives you an innocent smile. Did you also receive a fraction of that unusual power? Looks like it. I genuinely hoped that getting away from you would be the end of it. If your gift truly did come from Iomade, then giving me a smidgen of that power was a very subtle joke on her part. I had no idea that our divine Lightbringer of Mindev even had a sense of humor. Don't get me started on my many acts of sacrilege against her. That obscene engraving, the truth about the test of the Starstone, is the tamest one by far. The truth about the test of the Starstone. The Starstone is a unique gemstone meteorite that was part of the massive meteor shower that struck Golarion in minus 5293. This event, known as Earthfall, caused the destruction of many ancient empires, including Aslant, Thessalon, Golarion. It also created the Inner Sea. Yeah. A unique gemstone meteorite that was part of the massive meteor shower. So, a specifically important one. Okay, cool. Sounds good. Ba, 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 ba. Born Autumn Haze. The elf before you casually rests his bandaged arm on the weapon at his side. He bows his head with dignity. I congratulate you on your new rank, Commander. My hunt demanded that I travel with your army. Naturally, I wouldn't burden your forces with the need to care for an outsider. I've provided myself with all the necessities. Fortune to you.
Let's see what we can do.
Right. Vasali. That. Actually, let's sell to Vasali. Quick. Bulk selling. Easy. We don't need the dagger. Deal. Sell off all the stuff. I don't want to until I like get all the characters, you know? It's like it just irks me. I don't want to be like, yeah, let's sell all the axes and then pick up Greyboard and be like, ah, it'd be cool if I had some axes. It probably does not matter in the long run, right? There's a bunch of starter fucking pieces of gear, but Sociel paints? Ah, shit. Man, I like Sociel. Ooh, Sociel has a pike. I think that's a pike or a glaive. Let's see.
Hello again. I'm very pleased to meet you. Thank you for taking the time to talk to me.
A young cleric stands before an easel, his brush hovering over the canvas without touching it. Instead of painting, the young man absent-mindedly gazes at the sky of Canabras, which is still streaked with towering plumes of black smoke. Finally, he notices you and smiles, shaking off his stupor.
It's a pity I wasn't there at the Grey Garrison to witness your feats of strength with my own eyes. The flash, however, could be seen miles and miles away. Some people were frightened of it, thinking that the demons had blown up the remains of the keep. I, for one, knew immediately that it was a good sign. The light above the city showed us that there was still hope.
I will be right back. I'm going to grab some medicine real quick. And I'm going to blow my nose. Okie dokie. Oh! Oh! No! The damn cord got stuck. Continuing on. I don't want to. This one seems rude. Like, what are you painting? The cleric's eyes linger mournfully on the canvas. The unfinished painting depicts a tower crowned with a rainbow-tailed bird, the symbol of Shelyn. 5 people dressed in robes stand before the temple, men and women, young and old. They all gaze back at you with radiant happiness and joy in their serene eyes.
My brothers and sisters in faith. They sent me for help, and then they saved my life, Commander. If the Prioress hadn't ordered me to escape the city and seek help, I would have died right along with them. Instead, I met Queen Galfrey on her way to Nerosian, and hurriedly returned to Canabras, only to find my friends dead on the steps of our desecrated temple.
Oof.
I want to draw them the way they live on in my memory. Wise, beautiful, and loyal to their goddess and their city to the very end.
Sorry for your loss.
Thank you. I will never forget that I owe them my life. Every minute of it, every breath that I take, is a gift they gave me. Now it's my duty to make sure my friends and tutors did not die in vain. I will honor their sacrifice by making this world a bit more beautiful and kind.
What made an artist enlist in the army?
Perhaps I am a true artist, or simply an amateur who defaces canvases in my spare time. My goddess is a patron of art, so painting is part of my prayer, and I put all my heart into my pieces. But I am a cleric above all else, so I must also tend to others. I went to war because here's where I'm most needed. Sure, I could be painting idyllic landscapes and offering empty prayers to my goddess, but that won't stop people from dying. My goddess has no tolerance for false piety.
Okay. We'll hit him with this. Who are you, and how could you possibly be of any use to my army?
My name is Sozio Vanek. I am a cleric of Shaylin, the Eternal Rose and the goddess of beauty. Yes, I know that many people would consider me useless in a war. This is not a usual war, though. Just consider our enemy. The Abyss and his demons are the very embodiment of everything evil and ugly in the world. Perhaps a disciple of kindness and beauty might come
I
in
don't know
handy.
about ugly all the time, just saying. Taking freaking what's her face? For example, jeez, what is her name? Starts with an M. Man, I am blanking. Damn it. Mago? I can't even find it. Friggin'. It's not Mago, it's something else. Minago, that's what it is. Phew. God, I blanked on that. Holy shit.
I have no doubt that we will win this war, Commander. We just have to. It is our destiny. My role is to help you, and all those standing by your side in this struggle, to survive and flourish. Everyone deserves the chance to find peace and happiness in the world that they are defending so selflessly.
So he's one of those people, the Destiny peoples. You wanted to discuss something with me, right?
Yes, I have a personal request. Before we undertake our journey and leave Canabras behind, I would like to visit Martyr Zacharias' cemetery for a funeral. It's not far from here, and it's important. I would like to pay my respects to my friends from the Temple of Shaylin who died defending the city. Also, if it's not too much trouble, I would like you to come with me to honor their memory. Their friends and family will be at the funeral, and perhaps the commander's personal presence will bring them comfort.
Sure.
I know that you are burdened by many cares right now, so I understand if you can't find the time. But if you could, I would be sincerely grateful.
Nice to meet you.
You must be rather busy indeed. Leading a crusade all by yourself is no joke. I still believe that you are up to the task. This war has been raging for 100 years, but you've given us a chance at victory.
Hell yeah.
Here we go.
Hey, it's Go! I forgot I had Go. Oh, it's Ko. I don't know if I'm happy about choosing to use Ko's voice, because
Handle it.
while I think it's good, I also think it's good. It's like pulling me out. You know, I'm like, oh wait, that's Ko. Oh fuck. Leotir Hawkblade, Commander. A tall man with piercing yellow-gray eyes gives you a brief nod. Let me personally congratulate you on your new title and thank you for your time in advance. I am Leotir Hawkblade, an Inquisitor of the Church of Iomade, the bringer of light. I require your assistance in a certain delicate matter involving one of your companions, young Count Dayrin Arenday. Brings you here. Tell me more about yourself. I'd like to know who I'm... I am Ulfin by birth, but I have lived in Mindev for most of my life, dedicating myself to the service of the Inheritor. My warrior brethren mostly worship Gorum. Gorum is... our Lord of Iron, is a god of battle above all other pursuits. It is said he would rust away into nothingness if there ever came a time with no more conflicts to be fought. His faithful believe he is present in every iron weapon of war that is forged. But I have never been eager to fight for the sake of battle alone. I was a good fighter in my early youth, and could easily best most of my peers, but I didn't enjoy showing off my skills. Victory is bland on its own. Purpose adds flavor. I can't say that I have always been a faithful sword of Iomade. Back in my mercenary days, fate brought me to the borders of Mindev, where I spent quite a long time among the Crusaders, fighting shoulder to shoulder with my righteous comrades in arms, and watching demons commit their atrocity eventually led me to something I have been seeking my whole life, purpose and faith. That is how I found my calling. Even though it may be hard at times, I've never regretted my decision. Brings you here. I ask you to assist the Church of Iomade in an investigation of the utmost importance. I understand that the leader of the Crusade has plenty of other matters to attend to, but please allow me to tell you the details. Perhaps it will explain why I'm calling upon you. The Inquisitor's open face instantly reveals his feelings. He frowns and looks through you, lost in his thoughts for a moment. I suppose that you have already heard about Count Arenday's story. I refer to the tragedy at the Heaven's Edge estate. Tell me what happened, because there's a lot of particulars here. About 10 years ago, several powerful demons managed to penetrate the Wardstone barrier and commit mass murder of all the guests who attended the feast in celebration of young Dayrin's birthday. The unknown magical disease they had brought wiped out the whole estate in less than a day. That was not a unique case in itself. The demons had attempted such raids on Mendevian lands before, but they had never dared target such a well-protected place. The Arenday family was exceptionally rich. The estate was protected by elite bodyguards. There were several strong and righteous paladins among the guests. Moreover, the revered Nestrin, Dayrin's tutor, was one of the most powerful priests of Iomade in the vicinity. All of them died, nonetheless, except for the young count, who had suddenly manifested his outstanding sacred healing powers. Was that a divine miracle, or a curse? That remains to be seen. Going to investigate this old case again, why aren't you? Yes, I am. I have several reasons to doubt the widely shared account of what exactly happened at the estate and how it happened. You see, Commander, I was among those sent to examine the estate after the incident. I saw everything with my own eyes, and I still remember it clearly, even though it feels like that happened a lifetime ago. Heaven's Edge was a unique place that still carried the spirit of old Mindev before the World Wound. And yet on that day it turned into a labyrinthine house of horrors, like something else, something only seen in our nightmares. Apologies for the digression. I wanted to tell you about my suspicions. Everything about the incident seemed odd. Why was the only person left alive a young boy with a newfound talent for divine magic? Why did nobody send to Canabras for help, even though the agony spanned many hours? We found the demons dead, with their heads cut off, when we got into the estate. How were they defeated? How did the disease kill even the paladins present at the estate, who were said to be immune to any disease? If the demons had found a way to penetrate the Holy Warrior's defenses, why has this never been repeated since the tragedy at Heaven's Edge? You are the only person who can help me here, Commander. because the only living witness of those events is currently serving in your army. Your army's route will take you near the very site of the tragedy. Heaven's Edge has been abandoned and sealed with potent magic throughout all these years, and only the Count has the power to break that seal. He is unlikely to invite an Inquisitor inside, and in any case, he won't like me sniffing around his family seat. But if you, as his commander, express your wish to visit the estate, you will be obliged to fulfill it. I will simply follow you as one of your attendants. There are 100 ways, 1,000 paths, a myriad loopholes in human lives that the forces of evil can use to their advantage. I am not sure which one of those led the demons to the gates of Heaven's Edge, but I do know it wasn't a simple raid. The kind Crusaders face every day. That incident involved a significantly more powerful entity, and that is why I'm asking for your help. We cannot be sure that such a tragedy will not happen again until we uncover the truth. Did you question Daron himself? I did, but the Count insisted he couldn't remember anything about the incident due to the severe shock. He saw the demons at the very beginning when they appeared at the celebration to announce the onset of the plague and mock their victims. He also witnessed the death of his mother, Countess Selena. That was all he would tell me. WotR pauses. We had found the young Count sleeping like a log on the floor in one of the rear chambers, having drunk about half the family wine cellar all by himself. There's no reason to disbelieve him on that matter. So you suspect that Daron is hiding something, that he is to blame for the tragedy. I deliberately refuse to entertain any theories or suspicions so that it doesn't affect the investigation. There is a saying among my colleagues that suspicion is the mother of prejudice, and prejudice is married to failure. I can only tell you that Count Arendae wasn't suffering from demonic possession, the most common malaise in our country at the time. Prelate Hulrun himself examined the boy right after the tragedy. He didn't sense anything awry with him. I've already been to the estate several times. What do you expect to find now? I was a young and inexperienced Inquisitor when I first visited Heaven's Edge 10 years ago. My skills have improved significantly since then. I've paid dearly for that. WotR makes a vague gesture, pointing at his scars. My arsenal includes many spells and techniques dedicated to gathering information about people and events. Almost all of them require me to be physically present in the place where the event in question happened. That is why I must return to Heaven's Edge. Fine, I'll help you. What do you need of me? WotR bows his head to you with exceptional reverence. Thank you, Commander. Now I ask you to speak to the Count and tell him that you wish to see... Now I ask you to speak to the Count and tell him that you wish to see at Heaven's Edge. See Heaven's Edge. Please do not inform him of my presence right away. I will join your escort when it's time to travel to the estate. When we get there, I will also require your help during the investigation. You'll have to follow me, observing my actions as an independent witness. If you have any other questions, please feel free to ask me. I will remain here for a while. So we're also kind of like auditing him, you know? Witnessing what he witnesses. Sweet. Odie boy.
Can't make the demons wait.
You are snoring something fierce. Oh, right. We didn't go in here. You, kitty, you loud. He's so loud, y'all. He's so loud. Yeah, nothing changed here. All right, so we have done a lot of discussions. We're not quite done yet. We still have to talk to Camellia and Woljiv. So let's go ahead and we'll end this episode here. If you're watching on Twitch, stick around. We're going to keep playing. If you're watching on YouTube, I hope you enjoyed. We will see you next time for more Pathfinder, Wrath of the Righteous. Bye-bye, everybody. Hey, everybody. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the video, consider leaving a like, commenting, or subscribing. It really helps me out. If you'd like to see me live, head over to my Twitch at twitch.tv/thedistanthorizon.